So I am here today with Moczan, or how the fuck do I pronounce your name?
It's Moczan, but everyone
What?
probably pronounce it as Moczan, yeah, but most people pronounce it like Moczan,
Yeah,
probably so.
I could figure out a nickname for you, like Moki.
Okay, that's also quite common.
Or it's common. I don't want to be common.
Okay, so you can actually call me Moczan because nobody knows the correct pronunciation, so
Okay.
that would be uncommon.
Okay, mutton. So, like, for the first obvious question would probably be that what's your favorite incremental game and why is it antimatter dimensions?
Actually, that's kind of a hard question for me. I thought about it, and I'm not sure what's my favorite incremental game. I think overall it would be probably an Anti-Idol, the game.
All right.
Um,
I didn't really
yeah,
ever get into that very much.
yeah. I think in a way I didn't really play that game too much, but I like it. Like like people like games like Dwarf Fortress, but nobody really plays it.
Yeah, I think it was
So
too convoluted for me.
yeah, I like the idea and the amount of content the game has and all the stuff that even after all those years it's really unique and nobody made anything close to that yet.
Yeah, I guess it's like a classic. And
Yeah, it's a classic and it's at this point I don't know if people will ever make something close to this because the whole idle and incremental games really go into different direction nowadays.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that would be my favorite one. And what about you?
well, I don't. It's a hard question for me also. I guess, like, my one of my favorites that really loved. What I really loved was a derivative. What the fuck? I can speak. Derivative clicker.
Oh yeah,
But it has the same polynomial growth that my game has. But one thing that I don't really like about it is the clicker part, because it's just you know, it's not balanced around. Like, if you auto-click, your clicking becomes really fucking powerful, and if you don't, it's practically useless.
yeah. I like that game and also the second derivative.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
good also.
yeah, they are really streamlined, and I like that also about some of the older games that they are really streamlined and people don't really uh, implement all those mechanics that now people think that there must be in the game, and they just had the unique UI with the grid of panels, and each panel have some gameplay mechanic in it, and I think that's kind of unique in a way too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so so I guess we like the old games
Yeah.
more than the present
Yeah.
incrementals.
Yeah, uh, do you have any new ones that you've been more
So
into?
nowadays I really like. I think of them like the Kusoge of incremental games. I don't know if you are familiar with the term.
No, I don't. I'm not
So,
familiar.
so in fighting games, we call it Kusoge. We call like those odd, buggy, not really working, strange games that are really fun to play.
Ah, yeah.
So nowadays, I usually look for those, unpolished games that people like post in the Feedback Friday thread on the Reddit, stuff
Uh,
like this.
like
And
the short ones and
yeah, I've recently been playing this. I think it's called Man is Squared. You
yeah.
probably
I
played it
I
too.
yeah, I actually tried it, but I found it too unintuitive to start. Like, I have no fucking clue what was going on. I was a bit busy, so I didn't really get much into it. So
Yeah, it's like you start and you have those images painted in the Microsoft Paint or stuff, like barely
Yeah.
looking like stuff they should present. Like the bingo board is not even square. But the game is like super content packed, and it unveils the mechanics all the time. You unlock stuff, and it's really crazy down the line. It's actually pretty polished, but
Yeah.
yeah, but just because the interface is ugly and it doesn't look. The first time I opened it, I also like played 15 minutes and thought it's like some kid's first game and dismissed it, but I saw that like it got like hundreds of comments and people were really into it, so I gave it the second try and it ended up being quite fun.
Yeah, it was quite
And
upvoted.
there are few games like that. Like some time ago, the game Idle Loops were also posted on the Reddit, and it's like I don't know how the game was described, but like you set like the automatic queue of the actions, and you also like build stats and stuff, so your queue of actions gets bigger and bigger, and it's also quite fun. And I've heard that.
I think I missed that one. When was it posted?
I think like a month ago, probably something like that.
Okay. I usually like lurk in the subreddit for quite a lot, but I guess I missed that one.
Yeah, and from the games that was actually published, the Idle Awards, I think specifically Idle Awards 2, it was posted on Congregate.
Yeah, I remember when the first version came.
Yeah, it also started like the super basic game, but the dev put really crazy stuff in it, and half of the time it doesn't work. Like you have some battle combat mechanics and you level up, and half the stats when you assign them says this doesn't work, or you have to restart the game for this to take effect and stuff. And but also he like updates the game every few days or so I like games like that nowadays. Not those super high budget idle games, but the small stuff that's really buggy, but also has some crazy mechanics or interesting stuff.
Like
Yeah, so that's what I'm playing mostly. Like right now, I have the Money Squared opened and looking at stuff being made. Yeah, so for me nowadays, it's mostly those smaller games. I also don't really like getting into the big games because, they are really not idle at all. Really time consuming, and you have to balance stuff and babysit it a lot. Either prestige fast or just buy stuff and upgrade stuff. There's not a lot of those really idle games nowadays, I think.
So you are more like an enthusiast than a casual incremental player.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
When I play, I really get into it, and I think most idle games are not idle. Really, they really take a lot of your time.
Yeah, it's like
when I play,
you wanna like leave them to the point where you can leave them so that they progress well when you're gone, but then you're like, okay, one more thing, and then you get stuck.
So my productivity drops a lot when I have a game running in the background, which is not really in the background at all.
Yeah. I haven't like played for a while that much idle games. I think I played some NGU idle for a while, and well, I've been test running my own game just so I'm always test running it.
That takes a lot of time. Like I spend at least few hours every day working on my games, so I already play a lot of idle games that way. So when I'm not doing that, I usually play some non-idle game if I want a game to play.
It's actually really surprising, like fucking 70% of the time that goes to developing my game goes to like testing it out and balancing it. And
yeah, I've recently been working a lot on a big update to one of my games, and really it's mostly like playing. I just have a movie or something on one screen and the game on other, and I just play it and take notes, and it's like half a day is just that.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
don't-
really familiar.
yeah. So why are you not playing a lot of idle games nowadays?
Well, I've been really fucking busy with my work. I work nowadays as a web developer, so I could make better idle games.
So isn't playing as a developer the ideal situation where you can have an idle game in the background?
Well, not really. Like, my boss wouldn't mind it, but it's way too time consuming. Like, I could
Yeah.
like have it running while I work, and my boss would be perfectly okay with it. But and other thing is that lately there hasn't been any that really would get me like interested, like how I used to get.
Yeah, so you would say that we don't have enough good, interesting idle games nowadays.
Yeah, like I've seen everything. I feel like I've seen everything already, and like all the new ones are just like
Yeah, they are just like
recycling
rehashes
them.
of the ideas that's already there.
Yeah,
Like not enough unique stuff and new stuff. And I think everybody's just trying to get on like, oh, let's make clicker heroes but something and one change, but the
yeah.
game is fundamentally the same.
I did play actually Idle Wizard, like
Yeah, it's like a Rhythm Grinder, I think.
yeah,
a bit.
like a few weeks back. I like that game. It's a bit like Realm Grinder, like it has depth to it.
Yeah, I remember playing it for a bit, but I also like the thing I didn't like about Realm Grinder was also in that game that it was really active and it kind of required a lot of clicking in the start. I think like
I
some
just
of
used
the
an auto clicker.
yeah, I also use the auto clicker, but on the other side, it's like if the game requires auto clicker, like I sometimes go like, why bother? Like I want the game to be idle in the background, but I end up sitting there and auto clicking some stuff and just watching it grow. And it's like, at some point, it's like, do I have a time for that?
Yeah,
And
like
usually the answer is no. And that's when I stop.
actually the clicking elements in the idle games nowadays they have dropped. I think there isn't that much of them like anymore.
Yeah, there's a big backlash against clicking nowadays, I think, and most people are like, hey, we don't really want clicking at all, because I think now with the games that have all those, you already click a lot buying upgrades, buying the buildings and stuff, and choosing to prestige or not. So there's already tons of clicking. So why click nothing?
Yeah, and it's a pain in the ass to balance because it's either auto clicking or not. So
Yeah. And you know that if you have any kind of clicking mechanic, it will be used with an out clicker. So you have to
yeah,
balance it with that in mind. But for people that don't use auto clicker, clicking will seem really weak.
yeah, and if you add a clicking element to your game, that automatically makes you a bad person.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Did
That's
you-
why we all should have keyboard shortcuts and just press M to play the game.
why doesn't every game like have a button you can hold that plays the game for you?
Yeah. I still didn't add this in my game, so I am a bad person, I guess. I have this point on I have like this huge to-do list of stuff to add to the game, and I have the add press M hotkey there too.
Do you have like add 8 new notations?
I don't think so, but I have add notations because I always just force the scientific on people and I don't let them choose. And people are really mad apparently if they
Yeah,
don't have at least 3 choices of notation.
yeah. I just make like pointless notations for the lols.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I
Yeah,
would much rather have just scientific and pointless notations. I don't want the name notation or the letters notation at all.
yeah. The letters one was easy to make, but like names was a bit tougher. But you know, do you know what I did for April Fools?
You did the brackets notation?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my moderators made a brackets notation, and we changed it like every save that like was loaded on April Fools was automatically changed to brackets notation, and the name was called default.
Yeah, that was great. I
Yeah,
remember the notation and the Reddit post about it.
yeah. I remember you having like pixels filling circles or something like that.
Yes, it also loaded default as a default, so every square was a circle, and I also added the different skins later on, so people could use like full ink promo code and get additional animations of squares being filled.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I have like now you can have the squares, the circles from April Fools, and also some uh, like a snake, like the game. So there's like a
Yeah.
line
Ah,
going
that's
around the square, and it grows until it fills the whole square, and also like the smooth gradient from the black to the color.
oh, that's cool. I think I should try and unlocking those. By the way, I just was checking Reddit out, and what do you think about did you notice the thing with one guy posting a prototype or like a video of his upcoming game, and then some guy compared it to another game, and they were like exactly the same.
Oh yeah, and somebody made the comparison thread about
Yeah,
that.
that
Yeah, I think if we are about to talk about this, we would have to talk about the mobile
yeah,
market at all, because yeah,
the mobile market is like that.
it's exactly like that. Like almost every game has they all have to have the keywords in the name, like idle, tap, RPG.
Yeah, heroes and clicker.
Heroes, and at least double every word used 2 times.
Yeah,
And like 90% of the games is exactly the same, just reskins of each other.
yeah. It's
I,
annoying when I try to find like a good mobile incremental, but they are just like convoluted with like copies of the same games.
and they all have. Yeah, there are a lot of game mechanics that are not used in the traditional incrementals, like the old school ones on the browser, and they really take a lot of stuff from the gacha type mobile games, where they really push you to open the game often, to get the daily, hourly stuff, to make sure you are really addicted and hooked up to the game. And in a way, I think it breaks the progression. And the point of idle games, I think, for me was always like the idle games were the opposition to the like social Facebook games, where they took the good parts of having the progression and the rising numbers, but without all the like stamina system and stuff that really like the predatory mechanics, like let's call them. And I think the mobile market is taking this around, like back to the old days of really abusing players in a way. I think I also don't want to say that every mobile game is like that.
Yeah,
But
there's always an exception, but
there are some good ones, but I mean about the majority of the stuff that you will find if you will just randomly open the iStore or the Google Play.
yeah.
Because I've been trying to play a lot of mobile incrementals this year, and it was really hard to find something of a good quality.
Have you found anything of a good quality?
Yeah, don't play much, and I also like found out that I don't really like playing those games on my phone, so I use the emulator, and if I use the emulator, it was like playing in a browser, so I always look at them in a comparison with the browser games. There are some good games, like there are some like I said about the monies and the idle awards and stuff. There are some games that are like those not really super polished and buggy a bit games with good mechanics, but none of them are super popular. I wouldn't even recall names right now because there are some generic stuff like some, I don't know, Sword Knight something or Tap Town or something, and you have like 20 games called Tap Town and only one of them is actually interesting and the rest are, you know, some adventure capitalist clone or something.
Yeah, I remember this one called Armory and Machine. It was
Oh yeah,
that was fairly interesting, and it was like more not that polished like appearance. But I did play it for a while. But what like stopped me from playing was the too much micromanagement.
yeah, I also played this game a lot, and I got to a point where I had like 5 tabs of production, and I had to micromanage every one type of resource and stuff, and it was really getting really busy to play this game.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah, it had those old like dark room vibe and stuff like that for me.
yeah. And I think I currently have like 2 idle games on my phone. Like, I think I have Almost a Hero and Egg Inc. Almost a Hero was okay. Like, it's kind of a clicker heroes, but I think it has its own things on it. But I haven't played.
Yeah, I played this. I played Almost a Hero a bit, and it's interesting in a way that there's a lot of like the team composition stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have those like the upgradable equipment and stuff, and the challenge runs. It kept me busy for a while until I hit the usual grind where I knew I won't unlock anything new and will just grind the numbers.
Yeah, and Egg Inc. I kind of like, in a way, hate it because there's the like capped offline production that you have to pay money for to get bigger, and it's only like 2 hours, which is like minimal. So the only way to progress in the end is to tap the drones, which require you to be constantly on your phone looking at them.
Yeah, and that's my biggest complaint about mobile games, that they really default to this: open this game 5 times a day or you won't progress. But talking about offline progress, I now remember that the game that I really like nowadays is the sword fight game.
Oh yeah, I did play it for a fairly long time, but I haven't checked it in a like month or 2.
Yeah, that's a really great, I think, incremental game that's quite modern. Let's say.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
it was like, it's really unique, and I like it. And if by some chance somebody didn't play it, definitely go check it out.
Yeah.
It has a lot of stuff going on for it, and had a lot of updates since launch, so worth it.
Yeah. So, let's go learn some history.
Let's go down the memory lane.
Yeah. So, how do you remember the Third Reich? Okay, that was.
Yeah, you have to ask my grandparents, I think.
Sorry. Well, yeah.
I'm not that old yet.
So, what was the first incremental you ever played? Was it Anti-Idol? Did you say that?
No, actually, I have a list. I've made a list of super old idle games I played.
Oh,
so
cool.
Most of the idle games I played were on Congregate, so this is definitely the place where I found them first. So the first game was A Knight's Story, and it was a really simple game with just a sprite of a knight hitting some random enemies and just, I think, an experience or gold going up. And it was back in the days where idle games were mostly made so people could sit on the congregate chat without actually playing a game.
I haven't heard of that.
So this one, I think, was really popular back then because it was, okay, we are just sitting and chatting, but also there is this one counter going up and funny animation of a pixel knight fighting some stuff.
I just opened it. I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, this is like, if you sort idle games by date on Congregate, this is like the first 5 or maybe 10 games with the idle tag on the Congregate. So it's like really the beginning of the genre, at least on the Congregate.
Yeah.
And I don't know just how much views it has right now, but yeah, I remember it being really popular, and it started like for me the first wave of idle games on Congregate. And there are some, like most of the games back then were really bad. Like nowadays they wouldn't be really fun, but there was a lot of them. And one other title I recall is Hacker Story. It was like game made with the sprites and based on the MMORPG game Maple Story. But playing like the people used to hack the game a lot, so you were like playing the hacker hacking the game, and you had to earn gold and stuff and hide away from the admins trying to ban you.
I have actually heard about this, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, it was quite fun. Like it wouldn't be super fun today, but back when we didn't really have games from this genre, it was okay.
That's like 10 years old. I was like 12 at the time.
Yeah, I was 10 years. Oh, I was 16. So, yeah. So after that, I think there were few random games on Congregate, and A Night Story 2 came out, which was like A Night Story 1, but had like 4 characters or something, and you could move between areas and fight different monsters. So back then this was like, wow, this is getting super complex and stuff, and people were talking, which character are you playing, how far did you go? And this is when Anti-Idol, the game, came out. Really, like, I think after the Night Story, because it was the answer to all the idle games back then, because there's like 40 or 50 really crappy idle games on Congregate, and I think the Anti-Idol came like, I'm tired of this shit, just make it stop. And it ended up being the classic legendary idle game in the end. So it's quite funny because back then the game was really anti-idle and like the parody and making fun of the mechanics, but turned out to be really good in the end.
I feel like this side of idle games have like gone unnoticed for me because I haven't really been into this yet. I mean, back then.
Yeah, I don't know where like stuff like cookie clickers is on the timeline. I don't remember if it's after the anti-idol or before, because at that time I wasn't really aware of anything outside of Congregate.
Let's check it out.
I was I was mostly just browsing the Congregate and playing stuff there.
Yeah, just a second. It appears that Cookie Clicker game came out in 2013.
I don't know. Anti-Idol is like 2012 maybe?
2009.
2009?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I thought wow, that's actually, I thought I was playing these games for maybe like 6 years, but turns out it's 10 years.
So it's 4 years older than Cookie Clicker, and it came out in Christmas.
Yeah, okay, that's actually great. So I feel actually like experiencing the birth of the genre.
Yeah,
Maybe outside of the old Progress Quest or however it was called, this zero player game that
yeah,
usually people call the first one.
the Progress Quest is the name. I think it was 2002.
Yeah. So after anti-idle the game, there came the time where some of the established Flash developers tried their take on some idle games. So stuff like Learn to Fly Idle came out, the Idleplex, which I think was also from one of the famous devs, but it was published by Congregate, so I'm not sure right now who's the developer.
Yeah, those are familiar to me.
Yeah, and stuff like Battle Without End also was one of the popular games back then. And somewhere around the time, I may be a bit off on the timeline, but the Adventure Capitalist came out, and it was like huge. I remember when it just came out of nowhere, at least on Congregate.
Yeah,
And it was,
I remember when it had the blue background and it was like, oh, fan.
yeah,
I found it really like awesome.
Yeah, I played it a lot, and I think I even spent some creds on it back in the day. Like the first game I spent some money on Congregate was it, and yeah, it was like wow, the amount of polish, the production values, the idea, like the progress bars, like it. On one hand, it's really simple, but back then it was like, wow, that's great, and yeah, now I see why the game was is so popular, because it started like it was ahead of the competition back then.
Yeah.
At least from what I remember, nothing was even close to AdCap, and everyone was playing AdCap because there were no other games like that. Maybe Cookie Clickers was somewhere there, but those were the two biggest games. And
Yeah.
the third one after that was the Clicker Heroes, of course.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it
big
came out
three.
after the AdCap.
The big three of incrementals, I think.
Yeah. I would if I had to assign the trinity of incremental games, it would be for me the Cookie Clicker, AdCap, and Clicker Heroes. Just for the fact that like 90% of the games are just copying them even today.
Yeah.
Your game is either a AdCap clone, Cookie Clicker clone, or Clicker Heroes clone.
Yeah, so Clicker Heroes came out at 2014, so 1 year before or after Cookie Clicker, and when was Adventure Capitalist? Let's check it out. Adventure Capitalist was 2014, so
Cookie Clicker was first, and AdCap and Clicker Heroes were after that. But I definitely heard about Cookie Clicker later than AdCap.
Yeah.
Because I was mostly just playing games on Congregate. I wasn't really ready anywhere else back then.
Yeah.
So.
I have played Adventure Capitalist like through to the end a couple of times at least.
Yeah, and I think that also was the first heavily monetized idle game.
Yeah, it didn't start out that monetized, but it became one.
Yeah, but they had the triple the income bonus that you can buy indefinitely even from the start, and I think it was back then it could be considered heavily monetized because other games were not monetized at all, and even Cookie Clicker only had advertisement. It still only has advertisement.
Imagine like back then nobody could have like believed how fucking heavily monetized like games nowadays would be, like especially the mobile.
Yeah, nobody thought that you could earn a lot of money making auto-playing games about numbers going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after Clicker Heroes, it's just like a blur. I don't think there were too much of a great games. I mean, yeah, of course there were great games like Realm Grinder, Dreams, and stuff like that, but nothing really groundbreaking, I think. After those three like the base of the genre came out. There we have like, few games a year that are really good and not that great games.
Yeah.
And that's all for me, I think, about my history of idle games outside of my making of my own, which we will get into later probably.
Yeah. Maybe I
So
should.
what about you? How did incrementals?
Well, I wasn't like that early into incrementals like you were. I remember when I was like in high school, and I played these, games where you had like upgrades that would get you further, like learn to fly, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the upgrade games because there was like numbers growing. They weren't idle, but they had the numbers growing thing. And then I remember in high school speaking about like how I like those games, and someone asked me, "Hey, have you heard of this game called Cookie Clicker?" And I was like, "No, but it sounds like something I would like." And so I played it, and I became a bit addicted to it for a while, and I started searching for more games, and I stumbled upon, like, for example, fuck, that's hard word to pronounce. Derivative clicker and those, and Adventure Capitalist was also like early, really good game, and Realm Grinder, I think I got it quite early when it still was the like just the chest which you clicked, and
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. Yeah, and so my history isn't really that like long as yours. And then I eventually made my own game. So yeah. How did you like
Yes, I guess we can go into making of our own games.
yeah.
So when was your first
Uh
endeavor into making incremental games?
the first question you was like, how was your first time? That's like a bit like, how was your first time?
Oh yeah, how was your first time?
Sloppy.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, I remember I was already in like university. I had been studying Scala in university, and I was playing like derivative clicker, and then I thought to myself, hey, why not try to make a game of my own with like Scala? So I made this game like I'm gonna call it Dick Clicker. So I made a game like Dick Clicker, which like the resources was like there wasn't any notation, and the resource. Do you know this site called was it Matter of Scale, which like shows the scale of things, and you can zoom out.
Yeah, I heard of it.
Yeah, so you started with like atoms and built up like molecules and like cells and eventually trees and planets and universes and galaxies, and that was like the currency. Like, for example, 1000 atoms was one molecule and so forth. And it was really basic, but like that was the first prototype of it. And then I tried to search for a way to make it like playable in browser, but I eventually quit the idea because I found it too hard at the time. But at one point though, I got the inspiration to like learn JavaScript and HTML and CSS, so I could make it browser game, and I started making it, but I scrapped the idea for the currency being like atoms and such, because I thought that like what comes next, you can't infinitely expand on the idea. So atoms became antimatter and so on. And that was like the first thing I ever made with JavaScript. And it's like nowadays it's like 10,000 lines in a single file.
So like Antimatter Dimensions is actually your first game?
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
Oh, nice. That's actually nice.
If we exclude the one thing I made with Scala that later became Antimatter Dimensions.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish my first game was like that. I had to make a lot of stuff because before I made something okay, I guess, because I am still not really satisfied with my games.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm kind of a perfectionist also with my games. I'm not fully satisfied with my games either. Like, for example, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, no, talk. I will talk about my games when you finish.
Yeah, for example,
your history.
For example, I'm not that satisfied with the like the start of the game. It's a bit dull and doesn't really bring much choice to the player. Oh, and actually, there's more to the history because that was the first time I posted it when like I had made it. I think it had the two first resets, like Dimensional Boost and Antimatter Galaxies, but it ended at like Exponent 308 because that was the JavaScript number limit, and I tried to search a way for like to go over it, and I found the decimal library, but I felt like it was too big of a chore to change every single calculation in the game to like work with it. And then I kind of like scrapped it up and abandoned it eventually. And then I made the Build a Spaceship game. Do you know that one?
I don't know. I think I didn't heard about it.
I can link it to you. It's not. I've abandoned it also, but like I also made that one and didn't really continue on it because after a while I realized I really want to make it different, and I'm gonna probably eventually make a remake out of it. So I was fairly a long time without making any incremental stuff. I was just playing them. But then I remember I joined the Incremental Games subreddit Discord channel, and I mentioned that I made Antimatter Dimensions, and somebody said to me that he loved the game and he would love to see more stuff. And that kind of sparked the motivation for me to continue it. So I had this idea of where you could, which would let me to expand on the game without like breaking the game's number limit. So that's how it became the infinity thing. So I made it so that when you reach the number limit, you have to reset, and the resets would become faster and faster. So that's when I added it to Congregate and like re-released the game. And I updated it really often back then because I had more time than nowadays. And eventually I did add the decimal thing, and because I have a fetish of large numbers, I made it kind of overdid myself and made the numbers really fucking huge. Like, I think the next next update goes to something like exponent 180 million. So yeah, that's about it. I also have a bit. I've made a few like side projects, but I haven't really continued on them.
Yeah, that's like side projects are the bane of development. I have so many ideas and so many prototypes started, and I would like to make all of them, but I know I won't have time and resources and stuff, and I have to focus on something if I want to release anything.
Yeah.
So having ideas is like the blessing and the curse.
Yeah, it is. I have way too many ideas. I actually did the AM Ask Me Anything post on Incremental about my ideas.
Yeah, I remember that. And after that, I made mine about releasing pixels filling squares 10 times.
Yeah, like we memed the subreddit a bit there.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. So for me, about my games. So I was making non-incremental games before. Like I remember back in high school, I made like a turn-based RPG for a project where you were playing as people from my class, and you were just it was only player versus player. Like you drafted the team, like you would draft on a PE lesson or in games, and you were fighting with each other on a like a chess-like area with some stuff that obstructed the movement. And nowadays I think that project was actually quite ambitious because it was made in PHP.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, because we had to make something in PHP to get the highest grade by the end of the year. So the game like drew everything on one image, and every time you made a move, it refreshed the site and redrew everything, and it was pain to, and it used the browser session to hold all the game data.
And you live to tell about it.
Yeah, it was even showcased on our school's website as stuff our students did. But later they found out it was like a bit uncensored, so they had to take it out. Yeah, because there was like the one guy who liked to smoke weed. He was the weed shaman and had booths that buffed other people and stuff like that. So yeah, that was like I think my first like game project, and I think I was making some Flash games before. Like in 2012, I made a Ninja versus Zombies game, which actually, I mean, it's not a great game, but I did everything for the game, like even the pixel art animations of the characters. And now that I look at it, I'm kind of proud of myself that I've managed to did this. I also earned some pocket money back then, so it was really fun because I obviously wasn't really looking at making this like a career, but it was really fun to make games back then, and
it's
like
still
somebody
Congregate.
gave me Congregate, and it had a sponsor, so I got a few $100 for it. So I was either in high school or just starting university, so it was a lot of money for me.
No, that's
back
cool.
then.
2,000 plays, go play it.
Yeah, and after I made this game, I was contacted by some guys from Philippines who made really cool graphics, and they wanted to make Ninja vs. Zombies 2 with me. So we did this. The game is also on Congregate. I don't remember. It's like 2013 or 14 probably.
13.
And that game was super bad, but looks, I think, quite good and had like this cool intro animation and stuff.
I'm gonna check it out.
this game earned a ton of money. Like for me back then when I was student, it was like a lot, like few $1,000, and I'm living in Eastern Europe, so that's shitload of money here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, it actually like allowed me to get some jobs here and there. I also work. I don't remember the name, but this was like high production Flash game by some Hollywood producer. Like it was like the vampire themed match-3 game, but the game was like sponsored by Armor Games and also like cosmic amount of money, and I was programming and bug fixing it. And so yeah, like making those little small not great games actually opened a lot of opportunities for me. So yeah, I was working on game stuff related for some time, but didn't really release any more of my projects. And I was playing a lot of incremental games back then. And in 2015, I decided to make my own game, which was Idle Gladiators, was the first one. And actually the idea for the game was like super grand, and like you would have this school of gladiators and you will like manage them and stuff. But of course I wasn't experienced, and the game ended up pretty basic and simple, and it could probably be finished in like an hour or something. Yeah, but it was my first time trying making an idle game, and I knew it's fun. So after that I decided to take like the already made formula and try to make it my own. So I made idle spreadsheets, which was like the Swarm Simulator clone.
Yeah,
But I always disliked the territory mechanic of the Swarm Sim. So I decided to make a Swarm Sim without the territory mechanic. So this was the idle spreadsheets, and after that I released the super idle spreadsheets, I think it's called. So this started my trend of re-releasing my games.
Like
So
actually,
this one was an improved version of idle spreadsheets with some new graphics and mechanics.
that actually reminds me, like when I first made Antimatter Dimensions, I thought about like making derivative clicker but without the clicking.
Yeah, I think a lot of ideas, at least for me, was like, hey, I like this game, but I don't like this one thing about it, so let's make it the same but without this thing.
Yeah.
Like this, I can make this better, so I will make it and show everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after idle spreadsheets, wait, it's called idle spreadsheets. I don't think it's
Infinite spreadsheets.
Oh yeah, nice. I don't even remember names.
I have it open here, like your congregate profile.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. So yeah, spreadsheets. Let's just call them spreadsheets. So after that, I've been playing with a lot of prototypes. So like 2016 is like no games for me, but I was working on some idle RPG hybrids back then, but nothing really came out of it. And at the end of 2016, I remember on the Incremental Games subreddit, somebody posted this little prototypes about breeding clovers, and you had like green clovers and had to breed one yellow clover. And
I actually
it was quite fun, but I remember,
that.
Yeah, but the person was like really salty. Like, I mean, no offense if you are listening to this, but like this person posted the prototype, and people were like, yeah, it's okay, but yeah, nothing great. And the person was really mad. Well, you were excited about my prototype. Fuck this, I'm not working on this game anymore. And I was like, okay, so I will just make a game like this because I think it's fun. So I made the 5-leaf clover, which had like instead of turning the one green clover to the yellow, you had like 10 different tiers of clovers to do. And the game like blew up, I think, at that point. I posted it on the New Year's Eve, like December 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was okay. Like right now it has 2080 I mean, yeah, 280,000 plays, which I think is a lot. I mean, it's not really a lot, but it's okay for a simple game like that.
It
So
is
I
a lot.
decided to make the ultimate five-leaf clover because I'm re-releasing my games, which that game had like tons of tiers of clovers. And it was my first games where you could buy something in it. But yeah, it actually wasn't really a success in terms of like monetization or anything. And now I see that it has only 250,000 plays, so it was less popular than the original. But that was also the time when I started my Discord server, and like people started to like notice me, and oh, I played this, and I know who you are, and I started gathering like a little following, let's say. And the next game was the Pixels Filling Squares, which also was like, I think it was like the Revolution Idol congregate, like the
Yeah.
game with the circus filling.
Yeah, I remember that
I
one.
don't know if you played this.
Yeah, I did.
So yeah, anyway, like I wanted to make a really like minimalistic and simple game, and I played with a lot of ideas, but ended up like taking the cookie clickers super basic, like the progression of buildings and stuff, and also I think it was Drip Stat game
Yeah.
was called.
Yeah,
Like it was
it's dead nowadays, but
yeah. So Drip Stat had this mechanic of like limited pool of resources that you could either collect or increase the pool.
yeah, I remember that.
So this was my like the basic idea for the pixel filling squares was to have this pool of resources idea, and like the basic generators of cookie clicker, and I combined them, and this is what came out. And I think yeah, I mean, the original one was really simple and it wasn't really polished, but as always, instead of updating it, I re-release it as Pixels Filling Squares DX, because I decided to like. It was back when when Nintendo announced every game for the Switch will be a DX version of the Wii U game. So for me, it was like the joke on that I'm re-releasing the same game with the DX on the end. And yeah, in between those, I also released a really bad Punch Trees, Punch Rock, Punch Dragons or Monsters game. Monsters, okay. Which I made like in a week. Yeah, that was bad. I also made a non-incremental game, Carta Quest, which was okay, but not that great. It was quite buggy, and the game actually has a small following of people who really want the sequel, but I think it's my least played game up to date, so I'm not really spending time working on the sequel right now.
Actually, the least
Also
played appears to be your first one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's even less. 2000, not even. Yeah, and I also made the Mochan's loot box game, like the joke on the genre.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun to make because I just put as much inside jokes into the game for like my Discord server, so people were really happy about that, because like the most active users got their own titles and stuff, so it was all fun and games. And it was also like I made it during the Christmas break, so I had like a week free of works to work on that, and I released it on the New Year's Eve also.
Yeah, and you added a joke about me on it.
Yes, yeah, I had Happy Palace press M to win was also there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that game like was also really like door opening for me, because a lot of people contacted me after that and stuff, and like a lot of my future projects will be a fruit of that game. So yeah, after that I re-released Pixels Filling Squares for the third time. Now actually this is probably the final version. I'm working on it. Like 2018 is the year of this game for me. Right now I'm working on a big update to like rebalance everything that's in the game right now, and that will be out this month. And after this I have a lot of ideas to expand the game on. And I'm also working on a new super secret Project 5, which is actually a game that I'm working with in a bigger team.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I think it's really early, so I'm not really talking much about this. But the super secret project is like also the inside joke of my community, because I was really secretive about the project, but also wanted to share the stuff, so people just started calling it that.
But what was the super secret project for?
Hmm?
What was the super
Can you
secret?
repeat?
What was the super secret project for?
I mean, the game will be for everything.
I mean,
but yeah, it will launch on Congregate first, of course. But the mobile is also the target now.
I mean that one's 5. So what's 4?
Oh, 4. Like I don't know what's 4. I guess I released more than 4 games, so
super secret
yeah,
projects.
I just tend to talk a lot about my prototypes or ideas, so people are like, okay, so this will be your next project, and after that of course I won't touch that again, so I have another idea, so people are like, okay, so this is your project too. So I think this is like my 5th project I talked about, and hopefully this one will actually see the light of day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's mostly my history of my development, and I actually am working on the games full time now, because Pixels Filling Squares 3.0 ended up giving me a bit of a financial stability for the few months, so I took the leap of faith and I'm making those games full time right now. So
Really?
updating Pixels Filling Squares and making the super secret Project 5. Hopefully that one will also allow me to make the next one, and this will be my big indie game dream come true.
Why is everyone else like making games full time except me?
I don't know, because maybe you didn't took the leap of faith.
Or I don't make enough money.
Oh yeah, that's also. You need to move to a cheaper country, I guess.
Or I need to make my games pay to win.
Yeah, that's also one way to do this.
Yeah. By the way, I came up with a joke. How many Moczans does it take to change a light bulb?
What's the answer?
2, because another one is always working on another Pixels Filling Squares sequel.
Yeah. That's probably true. Or 1, but he will replace it a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. And rename it like Lightbulb DX.
Yes. Light bulb replacing Championship Edition. Also, I want to make the Championship Edition of one of my games, so please don't steal it.
Pixels Filling Squares Championship Edition.
Yeah, I can't, because I already promised that it's the last one, so I think I will have to go and take some of the older ideas. I think I will make Idol Gladiators Championship Edition. You heard it here first.
Why not Loot Box Game Championship Edition?
Yeah, I think I will make the Loot Box Game 2008, because it was fun, and I will just use it as a, the collection of this year's jokes.
Or hey,
and also I can finally use Unity so it won't freeze every time you press something on the UI, because I was a dummy and couldn't program the UI.
Hey, you could like rename it Lootbox Game 9 because every other company like skips 9. There was no Windows 9 or iPhone 9.
Oh yeah, that's also nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that.
Feel free. Yeah.
Yeah, so this year is like Pixels Phoenix Squares, hopefully, because the game is like not in the best place right now, but I'm working hard to make it great. So hopefully people will start playing it again. And if not, I will just make super secret projects and loot box game and see what comes next.
Yeah. I'm actually what my future holds is like I will probably end up making an ending to Antimatter Dimensions. So like
an actual ending.
Yeah, like an actual ending, because I feel like I want to finish a project that I've started, so I could like allow myself to fully move on to the next project.
Yeah, that's also what I really want to do with the Pixels Phoenix Squares. So what I'm working on right now is to have like the open-ended ending, like something that will increase the longevity of the game a lot, but also doesn't have this feeling of the game being abandoned, because like my biggest regret for my games is like almost every one of them is like doesn't really have an ending, and you just hit the wall, and the phase of the game where I clearly just didn't balance it later on, so all of them feel like super unfinished this way.
I don't want to feel the feeling of like abandoning the game, so that's why I kind of want to finish it. It's gonna be like more open end, but so it's not just like everything stops and the game says the end, but it's more...
Yeah, but it's clear for the players that hey, you made everything you could in this game.
Yeah, you played it, fuck off.
Yeah. You can still play it if you are crazy, but there is nothing else there. Just stop already, and you know that people will still play it.
Yeah,
so just like apparently my 2 years 5-leaf clover that has content for 2 days is still played every day by few hundred people.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Yeah, I even added an achievement called "What do I have to do to get rid of you?" for like the joke.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just how much fun people can squeeze out of those games, even if like you didn't actually provide it to them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually like, when I first released the Antimatter Dimensions, I was super fucking like surprised how big it grew. Like, I was like, what the fuck? 20,000 like plays. That's crazy. And nowadays it has like over 1 million.
So yeah, that's crazy. I also remember like even the idle gladiators, like the game had like content for 1 day of play, and it like 50,000 people played it, and for me it was like, wow, that's such a... Now I'm still not in the 1 million club for one game, but in 2017 my all games total had 1,200,000 plays. So I'm in my portfolio has 1 million, but not one game yet. And I hope I will someday make game that's so long and addictive that I will get those millions of plays on it.
I actually added my game to my CV and was like, it has 1 million plays and I got a job because of it.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's actually nice to hear, because yeah, a lot of stuff that was happening outside of gaming for me, like job-wise and stuff, before I started making them full-time, was also because of the games. Like people either saw my games and like just messaged me, hey, you want this or that, or I just showed people that hey, I made games. And people, for many people, that's like, oh nice, you can start and finish a project that's valuable skill to have.
Yeah. But like after I finish Antimatter Dimensions, I will probably make some of my other ideas. I did post them on the Ask Me Anything thread. Some ideas, probably some from there.
Yeah, I also have like 3 or 4 super fleshed out ideas that I would like to make, but I'm just like, okay, so now I have to update pixels filling squares. I want to make pixel filling squares on a mobile and maybe on Steam, because
Yeah.
stuff like that. And like, okay, so I have enough work for months ahead. Maybe I will start another project. Last month, I thought that I will be able to work on 3 projects. So I had like this super elaborate schedule of, okay, so I worked this amount of hours on squares, this amount of hours on super secret project, this on the new one, but it's just too crazy. And trying to work on like 3 games in the same day, your mind will just blow after
Yeah.
some time. Just too much information to keep in the head and too much ideas.
Yeah, I get that. I actually thought about making an like mobile version of Antimatter Dimensions also to grab your money. I mean, because many people have been asking me for it, and the problems with it though have been because on mobile the offline production is really important, and it's really fucking hard to calculate on my game because there's so many variables and the growth is so hard to like calculate. It's like really advanced mathematics.
Yeah, I get also for pixels filling squares, like I went the easy road and just give people the bonus time, so the time flies faster. But I'm also aware that like it's better than not having anything, but it's not the greatest
Yeah.
kind of offline progress. So I
Yeah.
will probably default to this on mobile to just make some UI adjustment and stuff. But yeah, it's like just people are asking for the version, or people don't like play on Congregate for some reason because stuff. So I will probably make like a Steam version and mobile version, but only when the game is like really done. So I don't have to maintain like 4 different builds and
Yeah.
update everything every time I add stuff to the game, because this sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. I actually left the GitHub version on just because I know some people don't want to play it on Congregate, so they can play it like on GitHub.
Yeah, that's nice, but yeah, I never did this because I guess like my games are made in Unity. This is just like one file, and I don't know. I like Congregate actually, even outside of all the money stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
great for developers. Like, hey, you can upload your games here, and maybe even earn money from this, and people will talk about your game and stuff, and they will just highlight any random game that gets like decent rating, and you will have hundreds of thousands of people playing it for free.
I enjoy Congregate.
Yeah, it's a great place, and there are a lot of like really. It's a good breeding ground for the new developers, I think. And if you are thinking about making games or are making games, just don't hesitate to use Congregate. It's really great, and the guys there are also really helpful if you have like some questions or want to take it the next step and actually start making money on it. They're also really helpful because they take part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, but I in a positive way. So please don't take away my Congregate money.
Please don't. But like, by the way.
Yeah, so I think we can like end slowly. I don't know how long we've been talking. It's late.
Over an hour. About the Steam thing, like one problem about Steam games for me is because when I play incrementals, I leave them on and don't really close them. And if it's on Steam, that means it will show everyone all the time that I'm playing some game, and eventually it has like thousands of hours when I've been just away from home.
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't play incrementals on Steam also. But yeah, I think I want to give like people the option to have it. And I will probably, it's like really in the planning phase. I just on the one hand, I would really like to have a game on Steam. Like I don't know, I know it like nowadays you can just like throw $100 and Steam will take your game, but it's still like an achievement for a game maker
Yeah, it
in
is.
my mind to have a game on Steam. So even if it's not really popular, it's like a token of like achievement for me to have a game there.
Yeah, it kind of is. But like for example, Transport Defender.
Yes.
I really love the original like Congregate version, but the remake version is I don't really enjoy it that much. But the Steam version is different from the original and the remake of the Congregate version. And I'd really like to play that one, but it's on Steam only, so
Yeah.
so
that's the problem on Steam, that like they don't let you like filter the game out of your profile or something.
yeah,
If
yeah.
they would just allow you to play the game like outside of the Steam ecosystem, that would be nice.
I'd really like that because I'd like to play it, but I don't want to have like fucking 10,000 hours of.
Yeah, like somebody enters your profile and top 3 games is like 10,000 hours in some random clicker game.
Yeah, and like if I try some like incremental game, it probably takes me more hours of gameplay than like my top played games on Steam.
Yeah.
So
you just leave it for a few days to see what's it all about, and now you have like, hey, I played this game for 100 hours.
yeah,
I like it. Now it will show forever that I'm a crazy maniac.
yeah. I don't want other people to see my problems with incrementals.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, like incrementals are the guilty pleasure that they are a bit ashamed of. Maybe I think
Yeah.
like, hey, I always have 3 games open on my computer 24 hours a day, and I look at them and press a button and leave them there for a week again.
Yeah, it's like when you meet a new person, you're like, "Hey, do you play incrementals? What are those?"
So clicker games, I don't like those. Everybody's still playing them everywhere.
Have you heard of Cookie Clicker? Okay,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, like when I was talking with one of my friends games, so I showed him what I did, and so you are making cookie clickers.
Yeah.
Like my guys don't even have clicking in them.
Yeah, that's an insult.
I mean, I maybe in a way like, but cookie clicker is also like the legendary game, so
yeah.
So not. It's like, you on one way it's nice, but on the other way, people like they think that clicker games are some kind of like gimmicks or like joke games, and don't really treat them like good game. And I think some of them are can be good, and I would like my games to be good, and I work on them hard to make them that way. So
I'd like your games to be good also.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I think, then I butchered this sentence, but okay. So I think that there's still a lot of potential in the incremental games, and like we are still just seeing the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot of good stuff that we can do and people can do. So I don't agree that the we are dying or we saw everything and nowadays we will just make copies of the same stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, there's still like it's only beginning, and the stuff that we'll make in like 5 or 10 years will be way beyond what we have now.
Yeah.
Of course, we will have tons of cash grab stuff, mobile clones and stuff, but the good games will be better than good games nowadays,
Yeah.
and that will just keep growing and growing.
Just like thinking about my ideas, they are fairly like unique in a way. So there's still much to do. It's not like everything has been done already.
Yeah, I also have few ideas, like the gameplay, like the core gameplay loop is like not based on the actual, like, you know, the trends or the mechanics we have now, but something that can still be the good incremental game, but also has some unique stuff.
Yeah.
And I would really like to have time to work on them, but I don't have.
Yeah. Time is the enemy.
Yeah. Like the amount of work you have to put into the game to actually be playable and have content for hours or days of gameplay is just crazy. And I think people don't even realize how much work it is to make a simple game about numbers and
Yeah.
words on the screen.
For me, like at the start, most of the time went to like programming the game, but nowadays it's like basically just testing the balance and trying to come up with new original ideas that aren't like used already.
Yeah. When I work on Pixels 3.0, I also just I have most of the stuff in the Unity editor. Like I can do new challenges and stuff without writing code, so it's mostly like just sitting there and thinking about stuff. After that, making it, testing, sending to testers. They will fight over it like it's their life, if it's too easy or too hard. And after that, I just have to decide which side is right and wrong, and it
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. And
Yeah.
I also try to make the ideas a bit unique, and actually making 100 interesting challenges is quite hard.
Yeah, it is. Like some people have asked me when are there going to be more challenges, but like I can't come up with like interesting ideas anymore for them.
Yeah, like the last few patches for my game were like month apart because it's really hard to actually just come up with the stuff that I would be satisfied with. And it's also like a compromise for me, like, okay, this stuff is okay, but it's not great. It will work for now because people at this point want any content more than the best content.
Yeah, like
That's what
currently on my game, I'm just pretty much waiting for the testers to check out if the balance is okay. So I could like release it or rebalance it. It's hard. It's really time consuming to like balance it.
Yeah, because the game is actually designed to be played in a long spans of time.
Yeah, indeed.
So to actually test if it's fun for a long span of time, you have to spend a lot of time. Of course, I assume you have some ways of speeding it up and just
Yeah, of course, but
yeah. But even then, it's like okay, I can play my game at 110, 25 times speed, but it's still like some of the stuff you have to like, you know, get the good feel on.
yeah, you have to feel the progress.
Yeah, you can't really just spreadsheet balance it. Okay, so it looks okay on the paper and just send it that way.
Yeah.
So just like constant playing of the game all the time.
Yeah,
Like
indeed.
even now when we were recording the podcast, I'm just playing my own game
Yeah.
to see stuff. Yeah.
You know, what was I saying? Fuck. Yeah, I'm a bit sad that like I haven't updated my game for like 2 months, and next update doesn't really bring that much more content to it. So I'm a bit sad by that fact because I've just been so busy with work and school and everything.
Yeah, it would be great if you could just make a update in a month that will take people 3 months to play.
Yeah.
But I think it's unrealistic to make it this way all the time.
Or you could just do like Realm Grinder and add fucking time walls everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to really make like the content take more time than the time to make it. And yeah, but if you want to make like a handcrafted content, it's impossible unless everything is super grindy.
Yeah.
Because of course I could just like make my challenges takes 2 weeks to complete and make 10 of them, and okay, that's a month of content for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really agree with this way of making games. So
Yeah.
it's the eternal struggle of making idle games. So first I said that people should make them, but now I think they shouldn't, just for
Like,
their sanity.
yeah, the start is really easy, but once you like have a bit more complexity on it, it becomes harder and harder.
Yeah, it's fun at the start when you're prototyping, but after that, when you're just adding stuff on top of it, and yeah, it's quickly being a mess.
Yeah. Oh, but I think if you don't have anything more to say, we could wrap this podcast up.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. We
Yeah.
are already like an hour and something.
Yeah. So
Most people will already drop it like.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, if you are listening here, you are great. If you are not, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for listening, I guess. Please leave a like. Or I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and subscribe to Heavy Palace YouTube channel, and please remember to hit the bell button to receive the notifications.
Fucking don't. I actually just had like 420 subscribers, and I mentioned about it, and someone subscribed, and I was angry.
Oh,
I don't have 420 subscribers anymore.
So unsubscribe.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. I'm probably gonna upload this today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was nice to talk about the games with somebody with similar experiences.
It was nice having you here with me to talk about shit.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. It was nice.
Thanks for being here. All right.
Yeah.